Ellen Corby truly hated him more than anyone. Ellen Corby was born Ellen Hanson Corby on June 3, 1911 in Racine, Wisconsin. Ellen grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where she first fell in love with acting and performing. From when she was young, she showed special sensitivity and smarts, qualities that would later make her a great actress. After finishing high school, Ellen first tried working behind the camera, doing jobs like script girl and keeping track of scenes in Hollywood during the early 1930s. It was through this simple start that she learned how movies really worked. Things like camera angles, timing, and how to tell a good story. Her work behind the scenes made her want to step in front of the camera and tell those stories herself. By the mid-1930s, Ellen Corby started getting small parts in movies, often without her name in the credits. Her small size, sharp eyes, and unique voice made people remember her even when she was only on screen for a little bit. She quickly became known as a dependable and hardworking character actress, someone who might not be the star, but always made a scene better. Over the years, she appeared in many classic Hollywood movies, including It's a Wonderful Life in 1946, Little Women in 1949, Shane in 1953, and Sabrina in 1954. Each role, no matter how small, showed how she could show deep feelings and realness through small facial expressions. Her big break came in 1948, when she appeared in I Remember Mama playing the role of Aunt Trina. Her touching performance got her nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress and won her a Golden Globe Award. This recognition made Ellen one of the most respected supporting actresses in Hollywood. Yet, even with her growing fame, Ellen never wanted to be famous just for the sake of it. She was happy to serve the story and bring realness to every character she played. In the 1950s and 1960 seconds, Ellen Corby became a face people recognized on TV, appearing in shows like The Twilight Zone, Bonanza, The Andy Griffith Show, Perry Mason, and The Beverly Hillbillies. She could play so many different types of characters. She could play strict mothers, weird aunts, or sweet, quiet neighbors all equally well. Each time she appeared, she brought her special mix of warmth, humor, and gentle authority. Audiences might not have always known her name, but they immediately recognized and trusted her face. However, it was in 1972 that Ellen Corby found her most lasting and loved role as Grandma Esther Walton on the TV drama The Waltons. The series was set during the Great Depression and told the story of a close Virginia family, and Ellen's portrayal of the grandmother touched viewers' hearts deeply. As Grandma Walton, she showed strength, wisdom, and gentle humor, becoming the heart and soul of the Walton household. Her chemistry with Will Geer, who played Grandpa Walton, was especially touching. The pair created one of TV's most real and lovable elderly couples. Ellen's performance earned her 3 Emmy Awards and a place in television history. In 1976, Ellen suffered a serious stroke that left half her body paralyzed and temporarily unable to speak. Many people thought her career was over, but Ellen refused to let sickness define her. With amazing courage and determination, she went through recovery therapy and eventually returned to the Waltons, bringing her real-life recovery into her character's storyline. Her never-give-up attitude became a powerful example of her inner strength and love for acting. When she appeared on screen again, audiences cried, not just for Grandma Walton, but for Ellen herself, whose strength matched the toughness of the character she played off-camera. Ellen Corby was known as a private, gentle, and spiritual woman. She lived quietly in California and kept lifelong friendships with many people she worked with. Despite her fame, she never let stardom change her humble or kind nature. She was deeply admired by the cast and crew of the Waltons, many of whom said she was like a mentor and gave them comfort. During the show's long run, Ellen continued to work into her later years, appearing in occasional Walton specials and other TV projects. Even after she stopped acting, her influence stayed strong. Her dedication to acting, her strength when facing hard times, and her embodiment of timeless values like family, love, and never giving up made her a symbol of grace in Hollywood. Ellen Hanson married Francis Corby, a film director and cameraman who was 20 years older than her in 1934 during the early years of her growing work in Hollywood. Their marriage happened at a time when Ellen was still making a name for herself in the film industry, working hard as a script supervisor and wanting to be an actress. Francis Corby, already an experienced person in the entertainment world, was known for his technical skills behind the camera, and his influence in the field definitely exposed Ellen to new creative ideas and professional opportunities, despite the age gap between them. The marriage at first seemed to be a meeting of minds, a partnership that combined his experience and her youthful ambition. Ellen often said Francis encouraged her to pursue her own artistic dreams, and his understanding of how movies were made gave her insight into storytelling, camera work, and directing. Their home was a meeting place for writers, directors, and actors, creating an exciting environment that fed Ellen's growing love for acting and writing scripts. However, the marriage started to show signs of trouble as the years went on. The intense pace of Hollywood life and the changing ambitions of both people may have caused the growing distance between them. Ellen was becoming more independent, finding her voice as a creative woman in an industry run by men, while Francis, settled in his established career, had his own set of priorities. The couple officially divorced in 1944 after 10 years together. Though the marriage didn't produce any children, Ellen later talked about that time with a sense of thinking back rather than regret. She saw it as a learning chapter, one that helped shape her understanding of life, relationships, and the sacrifices often needed to follow your passion in the arts. The divorce, while hard, marked the beginning of Ellen's journey toward discovering herself and personal freedom. 10 years later in 1954, Ellen Corby met Stella Lucchetta, a meeting that would deeply change the course of her personal life. Stella, a warm, caring woman with a strong sense of loyalty and care, came into Ellen's life during a time when friendship and emotional understanding meant more to her than glamour or fame. Their friendship grew naturally, rooted in mutual respect and real affection. Over time, their bond deepened into a partnership that would last for the rest of Ellen's life. Stella became not only Ellen's closest friend, but also her steady source of strength through both the victories and challenges of Hollywood and beyond. The two women built a quiet, private life together away from the spotlight, creating a home filled with love, laughter, and shared interests. Stella was by Ellen's side during her rise to fame as Grandma Esther Walton on the Waltons, offering constant support through long filming schedules and the emotional demands of acting. When Ellen suffered a severe stroke in 1976, Stella became her caregiver and helper, helping her recover and even return to her beloved role on the series, proof of their lasting devotion. Their relationship, though never publicly explained in detail during Ellen's lifetime because of the conservative social attitudes of that time, was one of deep emotional closeness and lifelong partnership. Throughout her long and respected career, Ellen Corby was known for her kindness, professionalism, and warm spirit on set. She was the type of actress who treated her fellow cast members like family, especially during her years on the Waltons, where she played the beloved Grandma Esther Walton. However, according to those who worked closely with her, there was one surprising relationship in her professional life that was far from smooth. Ellen Corby, it seems, held deep bad feelings toward none other than Richard Thomas, the actor who played John Boy Walton. The tension between the two was something that reportedly grew over time, and although they kept a polite working relationship, Ellen's feelings were far stronger than most people ever knew. "I never had patience for arrogance," she once said. And Richard had that young man's air about him, the kind that rubs you the wrong way. No matter how hard you try to ignore it. Their professional paths crossed in 1972 when the Waltons first premiered. Richard Thomas, only in his early 20s at the time, was the breakout star of the series. His playing of John Boy, the sensitive, ambitious writer, earned him instant fame and praise from critics. Ellen Corby, decades older and already a seasoned character actress, came to the show with the discipline of old Hollywood. She valued being on time, being prepared, and respect for the order of things. From her point of view, Thomas didn't always show those same values. He was talented, yes, Ellen reportedly said, but talent means very little if you let it go to your head. He liked to talk about art and philosophy, but sometimes all I wanted was for him to show up on time and remember that this was a job, not a classroom. Their clash was not rooted in hatred from the start. It developed slowly through small disagreements and moments of frustration. Ellen admired Richard's talent, but struggled to put up with his youthful confidence, which she often misread as talking down to people. On the other hand, Richard, coming from a younger generation, saw Ellen as too strict and not wanting to change. Behind the scenes, their differences in personality became noticeable. "He had that easy charm," Ellen once remarked. "The kind that wins everyone over, but it never worked on me. I saw through the charm to the ego underneath." Her honest, direct way of talking made her both respected and feared by younger co-stars, and Thomas was no exception. As filming continued over the years, small incidents made their mutual tension worse. Ellen, always wanting things perfect, became frustrated when scenes needed multiple takes because of what she saw as Richard's lack of focus. She came from a time when an actor was expected to deliver every line perfectly, and she believed the younger cast sometimes took their success for granted. He'd joke around between takes trying to lighten the mood, Ellen said, but to me it felt like disrespect. I'd spent decades earning my place in this business, and I didn't have time for games. The younger cast loved Thomas, which only made Ellen's annoyance worse. She couldn't understand why everyone seemed to overlook what she saw as immaturity. Still, Ellen Corby was not a mean or revenge-seeking woman. Even in her frustration, she kept her professionalism. She never insulted Richard publicly or refused to work with him. However, those who knew her well could tell that something was bubbling beneath the surface whenever the two were in the same scene. Crew members would later remember that Ellen could become unusually tense or short-spoken when Richard was nearby. "He just got under my skin," she admitted in an interview years later. "I don't even know why. Maybe it was his confidence, or maybe he reminded me of someone from my past. All I know is I dreaded those long scenes with him more than with anyone else." Interestingly, as Ellen got older and thought back on her career, her feelings toward Richard softened a little bit, though she never denied that their relationship was difficult. After suffering her stroke in 1976, Richard Thomas was among the cast members who reached out with kind words and letters of support, yet Ellen, true to her honest nature, couldn't help but offer a dry smile when his name came up. "He meant well," she admitted, "but there are some people you simply can't connect with, no matter how many kind words they send your way." Even years later, after Thomas had left the Waltons to pursue other projects, Ellen reportedly talked about him with a mixture of admiration and irritation, as though their dynamic had left a permanent mark on her memory. What makes this tension so interesting is that it stood in contrast to Ellen Corby's reputation for warmth and mentoring. She adored most of her Waltons co-stars, particularly Will Geer, who played her husband, Zeb Walton, and the younger children on the show, whom she treated like her own grandchildren. But with Richard Thomas, something simply never clicked. Perhaps it was a generational divide. Perhaps it was personality. Or perhaps Ellen saw in him the very traits she had learned to hold back in herself during her climb through Hollywood's harsh system. Whatever the reason, Ellen Corby was clear in her feelings. "I respected him as an actor," she said bluntly, "but I didn't like him as a man, and that's the truth." In the end, Ellen Corby and Richard Thomas' easy working relationship became one of those little-known behind-the-scenes dynamics that added complexity to the Waltons' legacy. Their on-screen chemistry as family members was undeniable, proof of their professionalism. But behind the smiles and heartfelt moments, Ellen's private irritation stayed. Whether born from pride, personality, or principle, her dislike for Richard Thomas was one of the few emotional conflicts she never fully worked out. Following several years of getting worse health, Corby at age 87 died on April 14, 1999 at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. Her memorial site is in Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Glendale, California.